first of 4 consecutive home games at Segra Field. Welcome to Leesburg, where it's a little bit windy, but the sun is out. A gorgeous day for Loudoun United and Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Today's pregame show is presented by Segra. Mike Watson, the Man United legend, Gary Bailey on hand. And Gary, our player to watch in this game, is presented by Betfred. With no Zach Ryan again, falls on Tommy Williamson.
Yeah, 1 goal already against Memphis, and he's a useful player up front. If he gets service, he can cause problems. And of course, getting him the service is going to be the challenge for Loudoun today. What sort of Loudoun United is this? Is it a new side? Clearly it is, with new players, a new style. Same manager, maybe a different outcome this season.
Let's take a look at what Ryan Martin has assembled for his starting 11. Again, Zach Ryan is back from suspension, but not in the 18. But the good news is Jeremy Garay in midfield.
Yeah, Jeremy Garay, such a good player. Zach Ryan, why he's not there, we're not sure. 3 goals in just 2 appearances this season already, but 4 changes in total. Bryce Washington coming into central defense in place of the injured Cole Turner. Wesley Leggett, look forward to seeing what he can do in attack.
Meanwhile, for Colorado Springs, Stevie Hogan had to make some difficult decisions this week. We'll talk about Zach Zandy in a moment, but Echeverria and King return.
Yeah, they do. Zach Zandy, as mentioned, not even able to make it. Jimmy Ockford also with an injury problem on the bench. So 2 sort of enforced changes there for Coach Stephen Hogan. Still a strong side. Macca King back at right back, Echeverria in that sort of number 10 role.
And of course, the Zandy news just hitting the last 2 days. In training this week, he tore his Achilles just 3 days after a penalty was saved in stoppage time. Coach Stephen Hogan said an angry Zach Zandy would be a real trouble for the league. The reality is Zandy will miss the remainder of the season after a 90% tear of his Achilles, and that massive part of Colorado Springs midfield is going to be a gaping hole in this particular game as they try to figure out life without Zandy. Everyone getting warmed up for this one. It's Loudoun United ready to take on Colorado Springs Switchbacks. The pregame brought to you by Segra. We kick it off when we return to Virginia.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
Loudoun United set to take on Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Welcome to Segra Field as we close in on kickoff on this beautiful but windy afternoon. Today's keys to the game are brought to you by Country Buick, GMC of Leesburg. For Loudoun, let's start with keeping the ball moving.
Yeah, it's players who haven't played a lot together, so you want to move the ball, you want to get touches on the ball, understand where each other is, get that feeling of familiarity that is most needed when you have a completely new team. Wash, rinse, and repeat. We're just got to do what they did when they've played well, and let's get the ball up to Romario Williams, get it wide, Malik Foster, Deshane Beckford. Keep doing that, and you'll get some joy out of the match tonight.
That's why they pay Gary Bailey the big bucks. Dane Jackman, can he take control of the goalkeeping job for Loudoun? Can Colorado Springs what they did last time they came here 2 seasons ago? They won 3-1 against this Loudoun side. Renewed vigor around this franchise. They play in the Open Cup for the first time midweek. 4 games in a row here at Segra Field. Can they make some hay and really put some rockets on this season and get it moving in the right direction? Echeverria is going to get the first touch for the Switchbacks, and here we go after a false start on this Saturday afternoon. That'll cost him 5 yards, Gary.
Doesn't work that way.
Romario Williams returns. Here we go, underway. Loudoun United, Colorado Springs. They last met here in 2021. Colorado Springs a 3-1 victory. Then what lies in store for 2 teams trying to work their way up the respective standings here in the championship?
And I think that's a good point, Mike. It's both teams need to get a win today. They've both got a win, a draw, a loss. They're sitting somewhere vaguely in mid-table. That means you can get, drop down very quickly and find yourself in a position where you're not going to make the playoffs. I know it's early stages, but you don't want to be chasing those above you. So a win today would propel either of these 2 teams up. A loss, and you really are down in the dungeons.
Herrera pulls it away over to Mahoney. Gary, usually we get 4, 5, 6 games into the season and we go, hey, here's the team that's still perfect. No one's got a white shirt anymore. There's a schmutz somewhere for everybody.
They're 2 very tough leagues, East and West, tougher than I've ever seen. There's no development teams anymore. Every game you play is going to be really tough, and it's a theme we're hearing from most managers. There's nothing easy out there. Loudoun used to be, with all due respect, it used to be an easy touch.
Turned over to Foster. Foster and line pulls it back and barely got clipped over the crossbar. Had that central run. Switchbacks can't make hay of it, but they do get a corner. Good start.
Very good start. Nice and sharp there by Malik Foster. And that's what they want him to do out wide. Get down that flank, whip the ball into dangerous areas. Yes, that was cleared. Very, very close to being an own goal, perhaps. So that's the sort of pressure that the Switchbacks are looking to produce.
Gary's significant wind in this game, too.
Yeah, always a problem for a keeper.
This is whipping over the penalty area. Away from the top of the 6. Beckford puts it down. Speedy Williams, the marquee addition for the Switchbacks over the offseason. Beckford went for that near post, bangs off of El Medcar, another corner.
Another chance to test the wind and the goalkeeper's ability to read the ball in the wind. But nice start from the visiting side, positive, pushing forward, threatening Loudoun. Good test of how Loudoun defend as a unit, especially seeing that they're all new players to each other virtually.
Well, something's gone awry here in the box. Jeremy Shear, the referee for this affair, laying down the law.
As referees tend to at almost every set piece these days. I don't know why they have to explain it. If someone does something wrong, just blow them up.
It was Williamson and Williams getting a talking to. The corner here. Back out to Beckford. Beckford unloads. Loudoun couldn't quite get on the run. Spewed into the width. Beckford. That's Segrist. It's a nice idea. Broke down. Rocha's taken over, but he's seeded it back to Segrist. Echeverria lets it through. Foster got the return, chipped it through toward Williams, and Segrist closest to it. He's offside, but Jackman had it covered.
Yeah, good goalkeeping, nice and sharp, very quick to come up, but good touch play from the Switchbacks, knocking it around neatly between them, looking for that gap. Now high pressure, look at this. Really making it very, very difficult for Loudoun to play out from defense.
You know, in some ways, the new sheriff is very similar to the old sheriff, right? Brendan Burke goes to Houston as a first-team assistant, and Stephen Hogan, 15 years experience around him. The high-pressing ways of the Switchbacks really haven't changed that much.
No, they haven't changed. For me, the one thing that is missing, though, is that stunning pace and ability to score goals up front that the Switchbacks had. And Misha Galina was just such a star player out wide for them, and of course had a top goal scorer through the middle as well. So you lose two players of that quality. You need to bring a lot of quality in or improve a lot of players with a small amount of quality to get back to where you were. I'm not convinced they're there yet.
Watch out, Beckford rips this across Romario Williams, puts it in, and the Switchbacks have a dream start on the road.
Well, I just said, prove it to me, see if you can score like last season. Well, within a minute, they do exactly that. Fantastic ball. A lovely ball down the right wing here. It's the pace of Shane Beckford, but head up and give him props there for a fantastic ball across to Mario Williams. But Mario Williams hasn't had to move. That ball is on a platter for him, sticks in the back of the net. Simple finish. Of course, he goes across to say thank you. But if Shane Beckford could play like that down the wing with that level of pace and accuracy, then maybe they will score the sort of goals we've seen from the Switchbacks over the last couple of seasons.
Romario Williams scores his first goal for Colorado Springs, his 42nd career goal in the championship, and that is the third assist of the season for Shane Beckford, who played a really auxiliary role in a champion San Antonio team last year.
Yep, he can be used so much more effectively if he's got that sort of pace, and give credit for the ball that was knocked long for him as well. Good service down the line that he was able to jump onto.
You know, we spoke to Ryan Martin as El Medcar tosses it in behind, and Herrera's going to let this go. He said last week we were 0 for 3 in those vital moments that every manager talks about. They conceded in the last 5 minutes of the first half, first 5 minutes of the second half, and then chasing the game at the end, gave one up in the last 5 minutes of the game, and now they've conceded less than 5 minutes in today.
Frustrating for Ryan Martin as we look at him there just giving out his advice. You know what, when he had a development side in the years gone by and their focus was on producing good young players, we sort of made allowances for that. Now there's no allowances. They can't afford to do that, and that's what he said to us. They've just got to learn. They've got to learn quickly. There are certain times when you have to remain really tight. You can see the frustration for Ryan Martin. 1-0 down, as you say, within the opening minutes. That's not what a top-class professional team should be doing. Not often, anyway. Obviously, you can't stop it happening all the time. But as you say, before halftime, after halftime, late in the match, and now early in this match, those are all bad times to concede.
Fourth week of the season, and it's early, but Switchbacks get their second goal in the first quarter hour of a game. That is most in the league. Colorado Springs have not gone on to lose a game in which they scored first since July of last year. 10 straight instances. So Loudoun already backed up against the ropes a little bit in the very early going.
We've got a glimpse of Stephen Hogan there. Oh, it was trouble for Shane Beckford.
Well, we had a very brief chance to talk about Zach Zandy, and it's good to see Beckford on the move. Stephen Hogan spoke to us how devastated he was for Zach Zandy, how devastating it was for the team. They're in training, no one's around him. He pushes off to accelerate off that leg, and his Achilles goes. He hears that dreaded pop. Now all of a sudden that pop will have a butterfly effect on the rest of the Switchback season.
Always sad to hear of an injury to a player, especially one that's going to take him out for an entire season. And again, you're never guaranteed of your recovery, although fingers crossed it will be a full 100% recovery for him. But a horrible situation. But on top of all that, he's probably the most skillful player for the Switchbacks. That's certainly what Stephen Logan was suggesting, that in training, he's the one that makes it all tick. So you've lost a crucial player, very difficult to replace.
Lacroix over the top, Learman is there. Enjoyed our first chat with Stephen Hogan since he was installed.
Yes, Irishman, played for a little while there in Ireland, and he said he actually represented them at youth level, which is impressive. Then came over here on a scholarship and has since spent his time at various clubs, working his way up the ladder. Here he is, head coach.
Any Philadelphia and DC connection, part of that Atlantic Cup rivalry of MLS. He was at Reading, which fed into the Union Academy. Then he was working with Bethlehem Steel. James Chambers was playing and Brendan Burke was managing. Makes the trip out to Colorado Springs. And now with Brendan Burke onto the greener pastures of Houston with Ben Olsen. Another DC connection. Stephen Hogan gets his crack at it. Lacroix lays it back to Macca King, who starts at center back, a place he hasn't been all that familiar in the past couple of seasons.
Just to say, it's going to be a tough one for Stephen Logan because they were so good last season. They did so well in so many ways. Colorado Springs Switchbacks got to the playoffs. Stephen Hogan got to the playoffs, and now he's going to live up to that. If he doesn't quite make it, even if he makes the playoffs and gets knocked out early on, he's going to have fallen short of what Brendan Burke did. That's the pressure you've got coming into a situation like this, and having lost some very, very good attacking players as well.
Wind whipping that into Christian Herrera. 7 starts a year ago, has been the guy so far this year for Colorado Springs. Miss a minute, miss a lot. Romario Williams, as it ever was, a remarkable championship level goal scorer over the years. In the 5th minute, opens his account with his new club. Gray touches over. Turn down the wing, cut out by Lacroix. Up the line toward Foster. Samake. Learn a little more about him at halftime today. That's good work by Beckford.
I was about to say, it looks like he's recovered from his knock and he goes straight down. So this is a problem.
Yeah, you can come on. You can come on.
So the athletic training staff is going to go take a look. The good news is they just got Jairo Enriquez back from the El Salvador national team. The bad news is if you watch the USA El Salvador game in Nations League, you know he was running ragged back and forth trying to keep up with Yunus Musa and Luca De La Torre. I mean, and he looked pretty good doing it too.
He's a good player, Jairo Enriquez. Let's have a look here. Does what he seems to be fine the way he's moving. Just there at the very end, perhaps he just feels a tweak on whatever the problem is. But I was about to say, it looks like he's fully recovered because he took a knock or two. Down he goes. But yeah, Jairo Enriquez got a goal already against El Paso in just the 2nd minute. So he's a really useful player to bring on. But Beckford looks like he's okay. So fingers crossed.
Pirouette through midfield. Williamson touches wide. Armenakis. Not under that. There's an appeal there that there was no touch. Boy, that was an awkward deflection.
You can see it was a deflection. The ball changed direction. Looked like it was going to loop over Christian Herrera at one stage. This is a Loudoun side that difficult to say what's going to happen. There's only a couple of players who still exist from last year, Swat Garay being one of them, Samake another, but literally only 3 or 4 of them. So it's a completely new squad that Ryan Martin has built. New team. No idea just how good they are going to be or could be.
All across Herrera. But that's always a work in progress, right? I just had a coach a week ago say what's good enough to get you a win week 1 or week 2 won't put you even close come week 20, week 20, 25 area of the season, right?
I guess that's the sort of aim, is to improve throughout the season and to peak for the playoffs. That's the logical way of, if you can manage your team that way. I mean, first things first, you're going to make the playoffs, so you can't...
Trouble.
Risky.
Foster came flying in, and Jackman has spared his blushes because that deflected out over the end line, not into his net.
It's too risky. I hate goalkeepers doing this because you don't need to take risks. And you're right, it can easily deflect in the goal. Jackman gets away with that one. Big battle going on there for the #1 shirt at Loudoun United, and Ryan Martin said, hey, I've got 2 good goalkeepers, the other being Hugo Ferreau. Played well last match, but isn't even on the bench today.
Curling run from Beckford, nothing there.
Do you see how that ball just held up in the wind there as it got to the edge of the box? As a keeper, it can be a problem. You come out and all of a sudden it dies on you, and obviously it dies towards the attacker.
And your hands are no good once you get that far out.
Exactly.
That just slipped underneath Drew Skundrich, who makes the return east. They've been with DC United the last couple of years. I'll be honest, I feel the same way with Jeremy Garay. When you've got 5 managers in 4 years in a certain situation, it's very difficult as a young player to own your position on the field or even really get your opportunity at all.
And he is a young player, Garay. Still got a good future ahead of him. Just looking at the physicality of the game, another thing we used to always say about Loudoun United as a development team, they were always young and not very strong. This is a much more mature team, much more likely to fight and battle to the end of a game, which is a point that Ryan Martin has made.
Come on, Loudoun!
Touched over by Rocha.
Let's use it!
Talking point you mentioned early on in the broadcast, Zach Ryan, having scored 3 goals in the first 2 games and got himself sent off for laying a hand on a referee, which I thought was a little bit unfortunate. The referee bumped into him and then he turned and pushed the referee away. And
you get the feeling both sides felt bad about that moment.
Yeah, it was maybe a yellow card because it wasn't really meant. But anyway, it happened. But he's not on the bench even. So I'm just wondering how Ryan Martin's thinking. Maybe we were told it was only a 1-match suspension. Maybe it's longer.
Well, it had already gone through the committee. Panic at the disco, the disciplinary committee.
So maybe there's something more to it we're not aware of. Otherwise, it would be very surprising that Zach Ryan isn't actually starting the match.
Much less, to your point, available. Rocha. This is Williamson trying to invert El Medcar. Brought down effectively by Koa Santos, and back to Learman. Samake's run extinguished. Goodness, that's 5-10 yards that the wind pulled that back.
Exactly, yeah.
Williamson won't go from there, not into the wind. Diagonal, and maybe a little too much mustard to make up for it over Samake.
See, that got caught by the wind as well on its way to Samake. You can see Samake's shirt there, blustering. This is tough now for Stephen Hogan and the Switchbacks in the sense that they're against the wind. They're playing on a turf pitch that they're not used to. Segerfield never easy to play on. But if they can just get into the game, they can sort of get used to the conditions, build themselves up as they go along, and then sort of dominate perhaps a little bit more than they have been. They've got the goal, sure, but they haven't really got the match by the scruff of the neck as yet.
El Medcar down the line. Ball deflects off Mahoney, stays alive Armenakis. Samake backstops. Armenakis now winds this service across. That's headed sweet level. That's good news for Wesley Leggett getting into the game.
It's a nice build-up. They're out wide here. They've got the wind with them, so get the ball in the box. You know it's going to give defenders a problem. Nice little bend on that, and you're right, Wesley Leggett, 22-year-old, getting up. It's a bit of a shove in the back. It's very difficult to direct the ball when you've got a big defender giving you a push, but at least it does win the ball.
Turned over to Williamson. Williamson! Well, now Loudoun's starting to give themselves a better account. The goalkeeper shown yellow for arguing with the referee. Looks like Jeremy Shearer brought that back. Well, what's the argument here? That there should have been a foul on the turnover?
Whatever the argument it is, he doesn't need to get involved, Christian Herrera. Firstly, he's 20, 30 yards from whatever's happening. And, you know, let those closer to the referee just turn and ask the question. The moment you run 20 yards towards the ref, you're already in trouble.
How many times did you do that in your career at United?
Never kept my mouth shut all the time.
Yeah.
Problem is, as a keeper, if you get into trouble and you get sent off, there's no one to, you know, plug the gap for you.
No.
Yeah, it's...
Williamson wanted that played through, a little back heel down the line, got met by Segrist. There's a lot of people who think they can do your job, but very few can.
Yeah, look, I mean,
goalkeepers and referees.
Yeah. Today you've got a reserve keep on the bench. Back in the day you didn't. So if you got sent off, they had to get the centre forward to come play, and it just totally messed up the game. So the golden rule was keep your mouth shut, get on with the game.
This is a whoa shot. A rocket that Herrera is able to stiff arm up over the bar. Koa Santos, that came out of nowhere.
Great strike from Santos, especially in this wind. You never know how the ball might veer, what problems it's going to cause for a goalkeeper. So, yeah, close enough. Have a dip. Why not? He put some power behind that.
I'd sign up to see that again.
That's always the challenge for Christian Herrera, and it'll be the same for Dane Jackerman second half. Is when it's coming at you with the wind behind, it can move in the air, can cause you problems. There's a secret there, touch of the head. That means something. I don't know what it means, but...
There it is. Armanakis playing short. They've got a 3-on-1 in the wide area. Armanakis recovers, sends this across, headers away by Colorado Springs. It's going to go as far as Garay. They may well reload this left flank again. Samake didn't like what he saw. Turned away by Malik Foster.
Good spell for Loudoun last 10 minutes or so since they went 1-0 down. They've bossed the game around a little bit. They're good on the ball. They've won a lot of tackles. I mean, sure, they are still 1-0 down, let's not forget that, but they certainly have worked their way into this game nicely.
Samake down the line, angles that inward. Covered by Learman. And toward Williamson, sent away again. Gray got under it. Samake, look at how tight he's come inside. El Medkar provides the width, drives that beyond Leggett. Wasn't able to save it at the line. I mean, at Colorado Springs credit, they said underestimate Loudoun at your own peril. This is a better team than their result last week. 3-0 loss to Tulsa would make you think.
Yeah, well, if you go back before that, they drew at home to San Antonio, and they beat Memphis 3-1 away. So, yeah, Stephen Hogan 100% correct there to not underestimate Loudoun. In years gone by, you could have done that and got away with it probably. And even that 3-0 loss at Tulsa, as you mentioned before, just before halftime, just after halftime, and with the last kick of the match. And in between that, you know, there was opportunities for Loudoun to have scored. So maybe not a true reflection of how the game went.
Over the top, Williamson brought it down. Cuts back heel, El Medkar. Herrera got a piece. And Loudoun continues to put their best foot forward over the last quarter hour.
Lovely awareness from Williamson when he gets the ball here. First touch not great, but I thought, can he sneak in a shot instead? Just maybe overhit the back heel, but the idea to get it to El Medkar, absolutely brilliant. Nice little save there from the keeper.
Now Medkar coming in from Dallas, spent time in North Texas and put up pretty good numbers. Delaware native who came through the Union Academy, starring at Kentucky. So last time it was a pat on the head. This time it's a dismissive wave with the right hand. Right now they look pretty similar. Armanakis angles that through El Medkar. He's going to get another bite of the apple. Big hand to that. Falls to the top, Williamson. And Armanakis denied by Herrera. That would have been a remarkable goal. Herrera, palm stung, able to recollect.
Good goalkeeping from the big man at the back there. The first one coming up here, you watch him with his left hand. He's going to make a save there, knocks it down, gets up, has to reposition himself. Williamson waiting for the ball to drop, and the shot comes in. And he does well again. The second one probably a little bit easier coming from Armenakis. But still the first save with that left hand, really good from Christian Herrera.
You know, that shot coming off his foot, Armenakis, it's like half a parabolic wave. It goes, hits the high point and basically comes back to the level at which it had hit his foot in the first place. I imagine that's a lot of English to deal with.
That's a lot of science. I'm not trying to think of my physics book. And what was a parabolic wave again? What shape was that?
I'm sorry, this is the wrong Gary. I'm thinking Gary O'Reilly would be the guy to have that conversation with.
Look, it's difficult when someone hits it, even as it's double trouble.
Taken by Foster, and that's quite the recovery by Yanis Learman. And Learman's come up lame, grabbing his left arm. They are otherworldly excited about this kid. Jay Vidovic has extremely high praise as college coach at Pitt. And then all the while, Foster is still down for Colorado Springs.
That's an important tackle for Learman. He got a little bit done at Tulsa for the first goal. He got turned inside out by Ferry. Got the ball off him and then went one way, went the other, came back the other. And then at the very end as well, Learman was a little bit slow to react to the third goal. So question marks about the big man in defense. That's why that tackle really, really impressive there. Put a bit of weight behind it. Like I say, they're a much more physical side, Loudoun, than we've ever seen them in the past. Much more mature team. Still young on average. If you look at the lineup, I would say the average age is around about 23. It's a lot less than Colorado Springs, who are up in the sort of late 20s. Speedy Williams is already 30, Duke Lacroix 29. So it's a slightly more mature team, Colorado. Loudoun still a youthful team, but not the 17, 18-year-olds they have in the past. Have a look at this tackle coming in there. Good strength there from Yanis Learman.
And some of this, I imagine, think about Brendan Burke in the areas that he recruited. Well, there's 4 Jamaicans in this team. They've always, that Bethlehem staff, Corey Burke comes to mind, done really well in that area. There's a lot of African influence that Ryan Martin has been able to get. The Ivory Coast has been good to them. So just different areas of the world that they're going for, different age groups. It's fascinating to see different recruiting structures within a franchise.
Yeah, a lot depends on the coaches themselves and who they know in the system, and maybe they've got connections with Jamaica. But you're right, I mean, there must be a nice vibe in the locker room before the games with the music pumping out there from Speedy Williams and Romario Williams. But a different sort of set of players for Loudoun. There's Armenakis is from Australia, Garay from El Salvador. You mentioned Ivory Coast, Gusso Samake. And Yanis Learman is actually French, even though he has spent time at Chicago Fire. Gusso Landry also from Ivory Coast, as is Abdul Zane. So nice mixture. Juan Ramirez, Colombia.
Well, this may well be more serious than initially anticipated. There was that big collision after Malik Foster had stolen the ball. Learman undercut him and sent the ball away.
Well, it is sad to see. It's an important feature of this team, Malik Foster, and looked really sharp early on. Really had 1 or 2 runs as Ryan Martin takes the opportunity just to give his players a bit of food for thought. 1-0 down, get them back in the game somehow. But Malik Foster, you never want to see players get carried off the pitch. There's always a sort of an understanding that if you can walk off, at least hopefully the injury is not too bad. If you're carried off, different story, and he does look like he's in some sort of big trouble there. Concerned look on the faces of Beckford around him and the other players.
Yeah, genuine concern.
21 in, 99 out.
They're going to make a change here. They're going to bring Foster off, as you would expect, given these circumstances. They're preparing the board here. This is a major setback for Colorado Springs on the field whenever that discussion is had, but at this particular juncture, all eyes on Foster, who's played in the senior national team for the Reggae boys. They know he's just got completely different qualities than what you'll find when he's fit and playing at his best. Let's show you one more time here.
He's holding his ribs by the looks of it.
Yeah.
There was no malice at all coming from Learman. It's not like it was.
Learman ended up injured as well.
Yeah.
Neither side fared particularly well from that challenge.
It's one of those challenges you don't think will cause problems, but just an awkward landing, or maybe an elbow in the ribs. They've got his neck isolated as well in a brace. Yeah, so we wish him well, Malik Foster. We hope it's nothing serious at all, and he's back and fit, and the crowd also giving him some applause as he comes off the pitch.
Well, there's Aaron Wheeler, who's going to be the first substitute here to replace Malik Foster. A Baltimore native, so surely he's got some family in the crowd for this game. Substitutions are presented by Segra. You heard some people cheering there with the inclusion of Wheeler. What a story he is. We'll touch on it in a moment. All the best to Malik Foster as he comes off. Hopefully this is one of those occasions where it looks much worse in real time. Taken back through Beckford and recovered by Williamson. Garay. Always difficult to go back to a game after moments like that, right?
Yes, yeah. And especially for the players either involved in the incident or the players of the teammate who's been taken off. You're always worried for your teammates and concerned for their welfare. But you have to get on. It's a professional game. You just got to focus on your job. As Martin carrying some notes around with him there. Be ready for his halftime chat in 10 minutes or so, slightly more than that.
Samake. We'll flick it through to El Medkar. He's had a decent performance in this game. Goal came from Williams in the 5th. Since that time, Colorado Springs basically shut out in expected goals. It's been all Loudoun statistically since about the 10th minute. By the way, you talked about how young Loudoun has been historically. They have a lineup that they've assembled this year that's already the 15th oldest lineup in franchise history. 23 and 9/10 years old. That's it. Whoa, Herrera. Goalkeeper showing a little bit of that early season April rust, huh?
He held his hand up there. Whatever he was coming out to do, he misjudged it, got away with it, held his hand up, but he's tall. He's about 6'4", really good goalkeeper, fantastic in the air, comes in and dominates that box. I think he's a real good signing for Colorado Springs. And at 25 years of age, plenty years left if he avoids injury.
This is his 8th club, and he's only 25. That's not a knock on the player. It's sort of the nomadic nature of being a goalkeeper waiting for your chance, right?
It is. Now he's got it, and he certainly is impressing so far.
A lot of smiles here in the venue today. Excited Loudoun fans enjoying some cherry blossom weather in the mid-Atlantic states.
I'm going to say they'll be happy when they get a draw. I mean, they're used to losing matches and enjoying them. Now they need to be drawing or winning them. It's a different Loudoun this year.
That it is. Beckford stop and start staccato run, and that's going to hang in the air for Jackman. Quite the challenge ridden out by Lacroix. Lacroix, part of that Open Cup final team for Sacramento last year. Took on Orlando for the most historic trophy in North American soccer. The Dewar Challenge Cup, which you get your name stenciled into now. It's on display at the Hall of Fame, but the trophy itself no longer paraded around. It's got 100 years of rust.
Look, it was a great effort by Sacramento Republic to get all the way to the final. Brilliant. Knocked out 3 MLS teams on the way there. That takes some doing.
Loudoun will get their first crack at the Open Cup here. That's Lacroix running it over the end line, and Leggett begging. Does win a corner for all that he did. Loudoun will see North Carolina FC, by the way, on the 5th, a home game, to open up their new Open Cup chapter.
After that, they've got Birmingham Legion, who are top in the East. Oakland Roots, and then Phoenix away. So, yeah, they're all tough games now. As I say, these leagues, this USL League is an amazing league, both in East and West.
Ball whipped across, and that's Wheeler. Comes down to Rocha. Herrera, comfortable.
Comfortable, straight at him. As long as he can see the shot, that's never going to be an issue. And again, playing against the wind is so difficult. You kick the ball long, it comes flying back at you. Second half, it's going to be in Switchbacks' favor. They can knock balls over the top. They can ask questions of the Loudoun defense.
So if they flip the coin, you would always rather have the wind with you in the second half. Is that fair?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, what a ball through. Slid away from Williams. Now to Samake. Rocha. Switchbacks unrelenting. That's over Wheeler. Plopped back to Skundrich. Pennsylvania native who probably has a few friendly faces in the crowd like Wheeler. Rolled in by Mahoney, back over to Skundrich. Leveled off, touched over. That is well out of play. Wind couldn't save that.
Unbelievable. He's applauding at Stephen Hogan, and rightly so, but everything up until the final ball was absolutely brilliant. You got the big man in the box, Aaron Wheeler, and the ball in from the left was a very poor one, but the touch play up until then was top class there from Switchbacks. Really neat, nice, and final ball just let them down.
Thrown into Echeverria, back from Wheeler, who just looks a little sturdier than the other players they've got up front.
I mean, he's hellish big.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he, 6'4"?
Yep.
Look at him, massive. Good athlete as well to get up there. So you would think every ball you can, try and get it on his head, get it wide. I mean, certainly as a goalkeeper, I'm looking at him thinking anything in the air, I've got to know where he is because he's going to be a massive threat.
Ball pinged over the top, and the header of the Select ball bounces down to Jackman. Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship, many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit SelectSportAmerica.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Samake smashes for Leggett. Throttling off of Maka King. That was nearly a trapeze artist of a ball down the line.
Again, just trying to be a little bit too clever perhaps there, Christian Herrera. Just boot it out for a throw-in or get it up the pitch somehow. Now they've given away a set piece, got to defend it.
Armanakis got flicked by Beckford.
Beckford's pace always so dangerous. Such a good player. Got to get him into the game. Got to get him service down that right-hand side. Have a look there. Just accelerates past and stands up and quick to get back on his feet.
Take statistics for what they are. Since the goal in the 5th minute by the Switchbacks, the last 9 shots been taken by Loudoun. 5 have resulted in Herrera saves. None necessarily all that concerning, but positive direction for Ryan Martin's side with 5 minutes to go before the half and that vaunted time that they struggled in last time out against Tulsa.
Yeah, it looks good, but that's not enough. It has to be good. In other words, you know, pretty football, shots on target, but coming in 1-0 down is not where Ryan Martin wants to be. And as he said to us, it's just that last game was just too many occasions when they got caught out. Oh, there's a hand there. Mario Williams got to be careful. They're appealing to the referee for a hit in the face. I think whatever it was accidental, but
Hands to the head is a red.
someone shouting hands to the head is a red, but
That sounds like a really good sort of picket sign mantra.
and there's blood pouring down from his nose. So this
Yeah.
is why they've stopped. Clearly there was contact, but I don't think there was anything meant.
That's Learman, the center back. And not an area that there's a lot of depth right now for Loudoun.
Have a look there.
Yeah.
Just a hand from Romario Williams out. And clearly there was contact, otherwise the nose wouldn't be bleeding, but probably lucky there isn't VAR, because these days, even if you don't mean to have contact, if your hand comes up and hits someone's face, and especially if it draws blood, a little quiet word here between referee Jeremy Shear and Romario Williams.
Gotta get it cleaned up. Yes. So you're saying blood is no card? Cleaned up. Check and make sure that like street ball now?
Well, they're trying to make sure that the white kit is also able to return, even if they do stop what has become a leaky faucet of a nose. Ball launched long for Leggett. Carried to the end line by King.
Is that good or no?
Another injured Loudoun player, this one on the touchline. That's Rocha. Through for Williams. Pinged the other direction by Jackaman.
Good timing by Jackaman. If he gets that wrong, he's in all sorts of trouble. The referee just calling him back here for the knock to, I think it is Rocha.
Georgetown kid, midfielder of the year in the Big East out of Bethesda Soccer Club locally. Learman's ready to roll. So Zach Ryan, we don't know why he's unavailable, because in theory, and the conversation we had leading into the game with Ryan Martin, we expected him to play, but that's up front. The bigger concern is Cole Turner is dealing with a knee injury, is questionable coming in. It's unclear how long that could keep him out. So Learman coming out would be a big issue. There's Rocha jumping back up.
Yeah, he was holding his eye, and you could see some sort of connection on his eye. That might close up throughout the match. So, yeah, but look, what Loudoun are doing is they're taking the knocks. Again, younger sides they've had in the past would collapse and go inside their shell. These guys are going to be out there swapping the knocks all 90 minutes, and that's what Ryan Martin wants from his side.
This is good from Beckford, but better from Samake. That may have caught an arm. Well, the crowd here at Loudoun asking how that comes with a yellow card when the previous physical contact did not. Samake is booked. He and Herrera now are on the referee's watch list.
Let's have a look at it again. Makes the tackle.
Guy gets elbowed in the face and you do nothing.
You can hear very clearly what either the coaching staff or members of the crowd think. I do think it's a little bit lucky, Romario Williams, not to maybe got a yellow, because clearly he's drawn blood. It's a wayward hand. There's no malice. It's not a red, I don't think, but you would think a yellow would have been about the right card to give. But anyway.
Does the blood change your opinion?
It's proof that there was contact, you see, then. But it's difficult for referees. Jeremy Shears, very good referee, and they've just got to call it as they see it.
Speedy Williams over the top, and a domineering header will line over the bar. That's Wheeler, who came in for the injured Malik Foster, and you called for a few balls up.
And that's why he can win them.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't able to direct it on this particular occasion. When you give him service, and Aaron Wheeler is going to be a problem, as he was quite a few times last season. Came on as a sub at the death. He would throw him on last 20 minutes and then just bomb the ball on the opposition, and it worked really well.
Well, he came in midway through last year after a lunch meeting. Brendan Burke sat down with him and his wife and said, hey, have you thought about playing again? It's a lot of people's dream to get told, hey, you've been out of the game for 4.5 years, but how do you feel about coming back? You've been working at the Barcelona Residency Academy down in Arizona. 8 added minutes, and it seems like a lot, but the injury to Malik Foster and then the shot to the nose a few moments ago, and all of a sudden stoppage time will be quite significant here in the first half. It's presented by Novak, delivering power you can count on. Armanakis upfield. Garay, head on a swivel as ever. Wheeler in his wake. Beckford on the run. Stymieing off. Beckford! Jackaman. And that's what the Switchbacks are known for. A little bit against the wall here for the last 20 minutes, and in the blink of an eye, they create.
That's Beckford again. It's his pace. Look how hard he hits this. He sets this up, absolutely smashes this against Jackaman, who's got his arms up, and thank heavens he did, because that would have hit him right on the end of the nose. And now he's been the danger man. Beckford creating the first goal with the assist. His pace on the counter-attack, constant threat for Loudoun.
Swinging inward, slash down, up and away into the bleachers, and another injured player grappling with that right leg. Bryce Washington is back up.
You can hear that wind whipping through all the microphones as well as Bryce gets to his feet. I think that's going to change things second half in terms of how Loudoun play. When that ball comes flying at them, a lot more difficult to judge.
This is going to stay in. Good effort by Skundrich. Lines the service, flicked up into the air, and a goal kick over Romario Williams. Continued insistence to the opposite. There's a Gaspinall among those up and moving, approaching halftime. We're going to get to 53 on the clock before we're done here.
Frustration amongst the Loudoun fans. Apologies for some of the language. But just shows their frustration, as you say, they've dominated, they've had the possession, they've had the shots. All the stats point to Loudoun doing well, and yet here they are 1-0 down.
Ball snapped down by Williams on the run. Segrist. He got turned around, he overran it. Oh, that's excellent, Beckford. Williams. Beckford. Further into the width. Segrist. Flex off of Koa Santos. Well done, 1v1, and that's been a major mark of improvement for him. Colorado Springs can't commit a foul if they want to. Advantage played.
They tried and tried, but the referee quite rightly. Advantage stays with Loudoun.
El Medgar onto Samake. El Medgar out of real estate.
That's the critical part for Loudoun there. You know, you're in a good position. Samake plays the ball, it hasn't got the right weight in it, and the opportunity's lost.
How do you feel about this? The Great Loudoun Egg Hunt is coming up at halftime.
All right. So shouldn't he be holding an egg rather than a carrot?
I don't know that the bunny actually enjoys eating eggs. I think he appreciates a good carrot. But that is our carrot dangling to try and get you to stick around for halftime.
It's going to be a halftime in which Ryan Martin's going to have to come up with some good thoughts and good ideas, because 1-0 down against the wind, against this very, very decent Switchback side, it's going to be a tough second half. And as I was saying at the start, you know, if you lose this game, either side loses, suddenly you're slipping down that table, and you got 4 points from 4 games, doesn't look great, and now you're playing catch up a little bit. Whereas a win just propels you right into the sort of top 5 or 6.
7 from 4 games is a completely different conversation. It's amazing how one result this early is a perception adjustment for the entire league.
Yeah, 100%. And it gives you confidence. You get the win, you bounce up the league, you feel confident. The opposite, of course, if you don't and you lose.
Oh, what a ball, El Medgar for Leggett. And Herrera came out, made himself as big as he could, and with another 2.5 minutes left in the first half, another corner. This to Loudoun.
Herrera again. That's another very solid save. Good ball inside here, very clever ball. Leggett's first touch, perhaps if it was closer to his body, if it's touch and hit. Instead it was touch, go chase the ball, and that gave the big goalkeeper time to get out and block the shot.
Corner for Loudoun. Herrera, he went up for it. He and Leggett came to terms. Herrera grappling with his head. Leggett never got a piece of it, but didn't foul the keeper. Another corner.
That's the wind holding the ball up. Look how much time it's in the air. The goalkeeper's a sitting target, and I think you're right. It was a fair challenge by young Wesley Leggett.
Put back in play. Leggett unable to keep that in. Leggett, after a couple years playing for the legendary collegiate coach Dr. Dave Mazer, involved in this. You can see what Loudoun's going for here, right? Up front. There have been some really enticing moments from them.
There has been. They played very, very well at times, but it's that final ball, the final shot, the final touch. Like, for example, we just saw from Wesley Leggett. First touch doesn't kill the ball. If it kills the ball, you shoot immediately. Instead, it's a poor touch. He's got to come and chase the ball, and then the goalkeeper's got time to make the save. And to be fair, the Switchbacks have really only had 1 or 2 chances, and one of them stuck in the back of the net. That's the quality you're looking for. That's the quality that Ryan Martin will be asking these Loudoun players for in the second half.
Ahead to El Medgar. Can Loudoun get one back before halftime? And Mahoney, like he's chopping wood, up to the task. Wheeler pirouettes down, wins a free kick, and might take us to the break.
Interesting hairstyle there from Aaron Wheeler.
You think you could pull that off?
Nope, don't have enough hair to pull that off. But he's going to enjoy the second half, the big man up front, Aaron Wheeler. With the wind behind, a lot of balls are going to come long for him, and he's going to cause some issues for Loudoun.
Quite the eventful first half. Injuries and the 1 goal. It's been a wild first 53.
It has had everything, and it's had good commitment from both players. Leggett looks exciting player up front for Loudoun. The Easter egg hunt starts now. Is that the big excitement?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hold on to your carrots and your eggs, everybody. That rabbit is about to Well, meet all the fans here. It's a 1-0 Colorado Springs at halftime. The opener came just 5 minutes in. Romario Williams. And Loudoun in pursuit of the equalizer here at Segra Field. Halftime is coming up.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
There are certain things we've come to expect in Northern Virginia. Traffic jams, tourists, cherry blossoms, and reliable power from Novec. With a 99.99% rating, Novec's reliability is among the best in the region. To keep that high service level, Novec regularly upgrades its electric system equipment with new poles, wire, and cutting-edge technology. Novec, delivering power.
Tyler Cut. I thought you meant Tyler Terry.
I've got good news, Gary. You will find an egg. You would take part in any Easter egg hunts growing up?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
No,
Yeah,
all the time. What, not just in April?
No, I meant every year.
All right, there are plenty of goals for us to go back and look at. Maybe you can find some Easter eggs in this, too. This was last night. Let's bring you through Tulsa and El Paso at One Oak Field in Oklahoma. Rodrigo da Costa. Oh.
Lionel Messi, watch and see if you can do what I do. Well, he's been watching Messi because Messi can do that, but that's not easy to do now. Dribbling around at the back, not always advisable, especially when they punish you. Solignac back of the net, and that's a costly error to make from Tulsa.
Luis Solignac in the 38th would put El Paso ahead in the 68th.
Good strike from Solignac. Turns, the defender's a little bit off him, but still, what's a finish. What a beautiful strike. Left foot away from the goalkeeper, just inside the post.
First 2 goals of the season for him. He had 16 last year, but Tulsa would have the final word.
Header come in, goalkeeper saves it. He's about to go over the line, so he has to drop the ball, and it drops, so Moses Dyer sticks it away. Have a look. Keeper makes the save. He's going backwards, drops the ball down, and it just happens to roll loose to Tulsa. They get the point.
Da Costa's like, hey, that's my goal. No, it's not. It belongs to Dyer. And after much consternation, it finishes 2-2. So Tulsa, of course, in the East, El Paso in the West. Here's a look at the Eastern Conference standings as it pertains to these teams. Birmingham leads the way. No one without a blemish at this point. Everyone's at least dropped 2 points.
Yeah, it's a very, very tight league. Tulsa having played a whole bunch of extra matches, but they'll be happy to see themselves in second position. Memphis have finished second last year, now sitting bottom of the table, but of course they do have games in hand.
Hartford just hit full time against Orange County. That finishes 1-1. Elvis and Mo Milanowski scored in that one. Let's tell you about today's player spotlight. It is defender outside back goes Sue Samake. Left back named to the championship team of the week following his performance in week 2. Samake has played every minute this season. 7 clearances, 4 interceptions, 17 duels won. A player that was scouted in Cote d'Ivoire in 2019 by Ryan Martin. That's a lot of eggs. A lot of highlights to show you when we come back.
We all have goals. But let's be honest, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
That one a good strike, and he finds the back of the net. For Ownby. Ownby cuts it back. Ownby's cross to the back post. Dead! How about that start from Louisville City?
There's a little boy scooting around back there. I just saw at least a dozen, if not 20 eggs in his basket. Nevertheless, the bunny still hasn't declared a winner. I guess everybody wins when you're playing in the Loudoun Egg Hunt. All right, let's show you news and notes from the USL Championship and beyond. Open Cup begins this week, Gary. Best time of the year.
Love it. Love all the surprises. Love to see these teams from the lower divisions come out and have their glory days and the shock results when the MLS teams get beaten. It's all coming up in the Open Cup.
Loudoun's first ever Open Cup match is on the 5th, Wednesday against North Carolina FC. Colorado Springs will play on Wednesday against the team that knocked them out in a cup set last year, Northern Colorado. Jordan Farr made the save that prevented plucky Colorado Springs side from equalizing in stoppage time. Named Player of the Week, and of course Louisville, Miami. You'll be hearing about that. That's May the 13th, ESPN2. All this is on ESPN Plus later today. What's got your eye? For me, it's either that Tampa Bay Birmingham game or maybe Monterrey. I'm excited about taking on San Antonio.
Yeah, big test for them. San Antonio beat them 6-0 last season. That was at home, though, so there's a bit of revenge in the air there. Tampa Bay, they're struggling towards the bottom of the table. Very early days, but you know, they lose to Birmingham, who are top, and suddenly they're under pressure. So yeah, vital time to get points early in the season.
And may I suggest finalist against finalist, Sacramento, Louisville, 10 Eastern time to close out your night here on ESPN Plus. Meanwhile, there's a lot left to be decided here. It is 1-0 in favor of the Switchbacks. Williams the goal. We'll show you the highlights when we return.
Business today is fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. Segra is here to help you get what's next with our best-in-class connectivity, cybersecurity, cloud, and collaboration solutions. Whatever your business dreams, we have the network and services to get you there. Segra, giving your business the freedom to grow today. Segra is a proud sponsor of the Loudoun United Football Club.
arms crossed. These Loudoun fans are expecting a win on this night. Who knows? That may be some El Medcars in the stands. I don't know. Or maybe just Kentucky fans used to seeing him score. Maybe he's got something in his bag for this second half. Switchbacks lead 1-0 at the break. All right, Mike and Gary back with you. First half highlights, of which there are many. We start back in the 4th minute of play. Poor Clarence Segrist picks it up. First of a couple chances in rapid succession here for the Switchbacks.
Yeah, great moving of the ball around there, and eventually the goalkeeper comes out big and strong. Jack him in, but Segrist creating problems down that right-hand side. But here's the ball, beautiful ball down the line. Beckford's got all the pace in the world, but he's head up, he picks his spot, and he finds the goal scorer, Mario Williams, at the far post. Just a tap in to put the Switchbacks in the lead.
All right, from that point, it was largely allowed to show. El Medcar creating, and he wasn't the only one. Armanakis in wide areas, Williamson in the center, Wesley Leggett, his best performance yet. It only played 52 minutes this year. That from Santos, though, could have been a dagger.
Yeah, that ball is moving all over the air because the way he's hit it and because the wind behind it, ball's knocked in. Williamson does here, a little back heel coming, just slightly too much pace in it, and it pushes El Medcar a little bit wide, but nonetheless, Christian Herrera was working as a goalkeeper. He was making saves, coming for crosses. He was keeping really busy.
El Medcar part 1, part 2. This would deflect out and create an awkward moment for the goalkeeper from Armanakis.
Yeah, he sees that one up into the air, but the first one from El Medcar was a really good save as well from Herrera. Like I say, he's been kept busy throughout this match.
And then in the dying minutes of the half, Beckford.
He's hit that as well. His pace keeps him ahead of the defender. Good save by Dane Jackaman.
First half stats are presented by Betfred. 10 straight shots for Loudoun after the Switchbacks got off their opening goal in the 5th minute, but the Switchbacks have started to find their sea legs again.
Yeah, they've sort of taken the pressure, they've dealt with it, their goalkeepers played well, but the bottom line is they've taken the chance when it came. It's 1-0 up, and now they've got the wind with them. It could be a very difficult 45 minutes for Loudoun.
Possession in favor of Loudoun United. We'll see if that carries over. The Switchbacks return to the field here. Of course, they are without Malik Foster, who is injured in the first half, and we'll effort to get more information on his status moving forward. He was replaced by Aaron Wheeler. Herrera on a yellow card. Meanwhile, for Loudoun, no changes in that first half. And Gausu Samake on a yellow card. Jackaman being asked to grab a hold of the goalkeeping job. Was there anything in that first half that made you think he's run away with it from Faroe, or could this continue to be in the balance for another few weeks?
Oh, I think it's still in the balance. He's done well, and games like this where you haven't made a mistake, you made some good saves will help it. I think Hugo Faroe is also a very good keeper. So I'm looking forward to seeing this battle between the two men in green.
All right, on to the second half we go. In Loudoun County, Virginia, Loudoun first of 4 consecutive home games here at Segra Field. That Open Cup match and then a 10-day layoff before they welcome Birmingham Legion. That's a foul. Won by Bryce Washington, his first start for the club. The odd man out through 3 games, but with Cole Turner's knee injury, steps into the lineup. Armanakis pushing through, was denied. Recovered by Learman. His very existence in this game proves he's far tougher than I ever was.
Yeah, he took a bad knock on the nose, but recovered.
Over the top for Williams, and with the wind now at his back, was flying for that. And Herrera up to the task, make that Jackaman.
Yeah, Jackaman's going to be tested because he's had one half where the ball's held up in the wind, so you've got to come and meet it. And now this half, the ball's going to come flying onto you, which means if you commit too early, you could even be under the ball. So it's a lot of readjusting for the goalkeeper and for the central defenders.
Washington under pressure. Beckford was chasing Jackaman as if nothing was ever the matter. Santos, as if he's moving chess pieces, has to settle for Armenakis. What do you want to see different from Loudoun in this second half, or is it steady as she goes?
It's a good question. I'm looking at them now, seeing are they more on the front foot, because when you're 1-0 down at home, you have to take the game to the opposition, and that's what they're doing now. Whether they can keep it going for 45 minutes remains to be seen, but you've got to be on the front foot, probing, looking to try and get that equalizer. Of course, the danger having Beckford against you is that one long ball over the top, Beckford makes a run, and you can be exposed. So you've got to press intelligently, or you've got to push forward rather intelligently, which we're looking to see if Loudoun can do for the next 45 minutes.
Learman probing. They've gotten Colorado Springs a bit out of their element. Up the line. Samake further seeking out Megkar. Lines up Mahoney. Circulates back. Under the foot of Rocha. Armenakis. He's gotten a lot of touches early in this half. Able to thread it through. And off the outside of the netting from a bombing Gausu Samake.
That's a beautiful ball played through to Samake. Absolutely stunning, and he gets behind the back four. Much, much better from Loudoun. We didn't see enough of this first half. We saw a little bit around the edge of the box, but this had pace to it. It's a lovely ball from Armenakis, by the way. Maybe at time, just think a square ball, and you can have a look in the middle. The player's waiting with his arms out, saying, just pass me the ball, I was free. And maybe that's the difference between Loudoun and the Switchbacks at this stage. The Switchbacks, thanks to that man there, to Shane Beckford rather, they were clinical when they got their chance. There was a chance for Samake to square the ball and a tap in. They never took it.
Away by Herrera. That's a foul in midfield. And an overeager moment from Wheeler. By the way, don't miss a minute of the action in 2023, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of the USL Championship action this season on ESPN+. It's the home to USL Championship, USL League One, La Liga, Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today, plus.espn.com. Stumbling and bumbling forward, Williamson. Chavria's back there. The unsolicited advice we get from time to time.
Yeah, it can be quite humorous. A little bit windy, and Ryan Martin still shaking his head. Not the easiest conditions. I'm just looking to see how the Switchbacks are going to use it. Are they going to play long to Aaron Wheeler? The answer to that there was yes. They just couldn't quite find him though. See how the ball comes onto you there for the defender, nearly hits his arm.
Yeah. Yes, the Switchbacks, they seem to think it very much did. Didn't look like it from our angle. Of course, that may just be planting the seed of doubt for future handballs.
Absolutely it is.
It gets away from Segrist. We've lost that psychological battle with the referee with the addition of VAR, haven't we?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Those were the days. That's really good from Armenakis. He has been excellent pushing the ball forward. Samake pushes it further. Angling to the top of the penalty area with a deflection. That's going to sit. And now bounce to Herrera. And Williamson will force him to scoop it.
Williamson frustrated, saying, you know, why shoot from out there? It's so far out. Just give me the ball, try and slip me through the middle. That's what I'm here for. And he's got a point.
Beckford. He's got two options, Wheeler and Williams. But he'll go it himself. Big rebound is going to wrong side, Romario Williams. The 52nd minute. One of the better chances Colorado Springs has had since the goal in the 5th. And pretty similar on its face, too.
He's been the star of the show for the Switchbacks, has Shane Beckford. Besides the assist for the goal, which he put on a plate there for Romario Williams, He's been the one with the counter-attacks. He's been the one threatening down the line. And in that case, we just saw now getting a very good shot on target, which Dane Jackaman does well to deal with.
And Segrist gets bowled over.
Here it is again. This is all his work. He's out wide, cuts inside of Samake there, and then forces the keeper. Now, it's not the save that's going to get you the goal. It's the keeper pushing it out and then a forward following up is where the goal comes from. Unfortunately for Jackaman, he pushes it away from a black shirt. But that's the pressure that Deshane Beckford brings to the party for the Switchbacks.
Ball for Beckford was overcooked. R. Martin. You know, sometimes it's just the initials. A little more engaging stitching on that jacket.
There's a limit to the number of letters. They couldn't put Ryan Martin, just R. Martin. I'm excited for him, as he said to us when we chatted. He said, I can be me now.
Yeah.
I don't have to be a developer of players. I can do what I want with the team. And what we've seen is a team that seems very competent on the ball. It's a decent team. They're beginning to knit together. They've just got to find that ability to finish teams off, which they did in their first match, beating Memphis 3-1 away. But that was with Zach Ryan.
Yeah.
You take Zach Ryan out, just don't seem to have the same threat.
You know, I was asking, you know, what have you learned through 3 games that you didn't know? Because they got good results in preseason against next pro teams, against college teams. You said, in part, how much we miss Zach Ryan when he's gone. The loss to Tulsa. That's won by Loudoun, and Williamson will lead Armenakis. The return for him sliced out by the Switchbacks. But also that this team will, in fact, fight all the way to the end. And in the past, I'm not sure they ever had, no pun intended, the horses to do it.
No, 100%. It's a very, very different side to the previous development teams they've had. And as I said, we've seen already, it's been a physical game. They've taken the knocks, they've picked themselves up, they've given the knocks. And it's a proper professional men's team now in terms of the way they play the game. But they're 1-0 down at home. And Ryan Martin knows as well as anyone else, this game is all about results. And you need to get out there and make things happen. Let's see what they can do in the time remaining.
Switchbacks have gotten a result in the last 10 games in which they scored first. Romario Williams got his first for Colorado Springs in the 5th minute. As Karam's back to Washington. Mike Watson, Gary Bailey from Leesburg, Virginia, and Segra Field. A very busy day in the championship. The second game of the day after Orange County and Hartford shared the spoils. Ball over the top from Santos. And Herrera launches forward after pulling it in. Here comes Beckford once again.
Again, good goalkeeping. Comes, gets it, launches the counter-attack. It's been a very solid player for them, Switchbacks, has Christian Herrera. I'm just looking at the XGs. They're just about even at this stage of the game, and yet one team is 1-0 up. Maybe slightly in favor of the Switchbacks, but we've seen Loudoun more on the front foot in the last few minutes.
Williams! Wouldn't have scored even that flag had stayed down. That was speedy to Romario.
Yeah, went to a very tight angle once he went around the keeper, but still expect him to score whether the flag goes up or not. I'm just making the point that with the XG is not dissimilar, not too far apart. One team's taken the chance, one team hasn't. That's really the big difference between these two teams.
Well, the goal from Romario Williams, that one chance, was half a goal worth of XG. Since then, it's been Loudoun 0.66, Colorado Springs 0.31. So Loudoun's created twice as much, but it's the one big chance that's been the difference. Williamson continuing to barrel through, and now out to Skundrich. And he's going to send Romario Williams running. Jackaman.
It's a good play from Jackaman. You could see that Deshane Beckford was a danger on the counter.
Armenakis forward, sliding down. Williamson back to his feet. Turned away by King. And King wins the free kick against Williamson.
King using all his experience there. As soon as he felt the pressure from behind from Williamson, down he went. That was always going to be a free kick no matter what. But again, good pressure from Loudoun. Here we see Williamson just giving away the free kick. It's good pressure, but it's not resulting in anything that's really going to trouble or has troubled the goalkeeper too much as yet. In the second half, he was troubled in the first half, Christian Herrera. I'm going to be fair there. He had a couple of decent saves to make. His manager, Stephen Hogan, will be very, very pleased with the goalkeeper. So far, things could change.
It's early. There's James Chambers to his right. Well, his left, our right. He used to captain Bethlehem Steel at the tail end of his playing career and has jumped into coaching. It's fun talking to Brendan Burke last year about how Hogan and Chambers had taken these massive steps in their careers and owning their own leadership within that team. So it allowed Burke really to manage the games and the game models, and those guys really had significant roles day to day that allowed them to develop toward a eventual potential managerial role, which for Hogan is now and for Chambers isn't far away. Lobbed over the top, Beckford seeking Wheeler.
Again, Beckford, such a good outlet for the switchbacks down that right-hand side. And we're getting to that time when there's going to be subs soon. There's a couple that can come on for the home side. Landry, Zane, both left out of the team from the last match against Tulsa. Might have a point to prove when they come on. And of course, for the switchbacks, Jairo Enriquez, mentioned him already. I'd love to see him on the pitch, and if they want some defensive strength, Dennis Erdman.
Armanakis, Santos. Didn't care for that. Rocha. Washington, Rocha. Saw the run of Samake. Got it in behind Mahoney, but Samake couldn't quaff it inward. Like my hair, it's just a little bit messy in the front. Down to Williamson. Ball's going to ricochet free, and Herrera in place for it.
Just in the front?
There's nothing in the back. Gary, I have what's called a reverse mullet. It's like Taylor Swift's bangs, but just nothing on the crown.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
You just saw the ball there. Christian Herrera knocks it. It went straight through to Jackaman. So here's the other side of things when you got the wind behind you. You can't knock it too long. You've got to stick it up in the air and let it just come down awkwardly and see how the defenders deal with it.
Armanakis, they feel like if he can get right this year, his debut season for Loudoun could be one of the better playmakers in the conference. Turned over to Rocha on the outlet. Of course, you spend 5 minutes trying to track Armanakis' passport, and that is a life expedition worth following. Over the top, that's easy for Segrist. Still it continues for Loudoun. You know the Guardian 50, right? The 50 young footballers that the Guardian puts out. He was on that list 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That's really high praise. Of course, who ends up really hitting the top of world football is a different deal. Armanakis again. He's going to curl this toward the back post, and it's met by Christian Herrera.
Well, he puts his hands up, Armanakis, and said, I need a near post run, which is a fair point. Those at the back post say, well, we're here. Why didn't you give it to us where we are, which is also a fair point. So between them, a lack of communication and understanding. Again, expected this early in the season with a group of players, particularly for Loudoun, who have never played together. Literally one or two only from last season.
All right, changes are afoot. Wesley Leggett had sort of been phased out of the game in this second half. Really not necessarily his own doing. Subs are brought to you by Segra. Abdul Zane come off the bench for Loudoun. It's their first sub of the game.
As mentioned, Zane with a point to prove. Left out after the last match against Tulsa, the 3-0 thumping. And he'll want to come back in and say, hey, you know, that wasn't just me having a bad day, that was all of us. I can add value to the team. And now's a good time to show it.
Exiting the match, number 14, Wesley Leggett. Entering the match,
Williamson floats. Herrera, never in doubt.
Yeah, not a good cross. It's nowhere near any of the white shirts.
But I'm not really sure that's where you want Williamson in that moment.
Yeah, no, good point. You want him in the middle. You want people serving him the ball.
That's part of why you've brought Zane into the game. Wheeler making friends. Exerting a little influence. Came in for the injured Foster in the first half. Well,
nothing serious there, just all chasing the ball. I'm not quite sure where the ball was. But with Zane coming on, he got the assist for the Zach Ryan winner against Memphis. And he was pulled off after 46 minutes against Tulsa. And that's where you got the sense that Coach Ryan Martin had said, you're just not doing the job, get off, let's get somebody else on. And he wasn't the only one taken off in the 46th minute. I think Husu Landry also came off.
in case of Zane had come off the bench in the first two games, and you sort of wondered, is it coming in at the start that may have made an impact in that, where Zane sort of has to prepare to go 60, 70 minutes as opposed to unloading the whole tank in 30 kind of deal?
Could be. There's horses for courses, but when you do start the match, you can't save yourself. You're better off just giving everything you've got. And if you're gassed at 60 minutes or 50 minutes, you put your hand up and say, Coach, I'm done. But don't try and save it, because then if you do, you get pulled off for not playing well. And the coach remembers that sort of thing. But yeah, if there's any good way for Abdul Zane to get back in the coach's good books, is to get an equalizer here today.
Pressure from Loudoun is pushed over the halfway line. So we'll extend to Segrist. Got an early ball in. Romario Williams. First touch dragged him, left it off. Couldn't get the run inserting itself in over the goalkeeper.
Oh, two bad touches there in such a great position. Beautiful ball put in there. I think it was from Segrist, but his first touch is bad, Romario Williams, and he tries to set up the player running through, and that touch is bad. There was a little bit more clinical ability. That would have been 2-0 for the Switchbacks.
That's Samake who committed the foul, because he's the one on a yellow card, although the referee showed no inclination toward his pocket. They're calling last call for alcohol, but it could well be last call for Samake if he indeed was the one who committed the foul and he's already on the yellow.
Like all professional players, when you're on a yellow, you've got to be careful of every tackle you make. And maybe Ryan Martin's thinking, do I pull him off and bring somebody else on just to save him the trouble of getting sent off?
Samake's first touch away. Beckford.
Not his finest moment.
He's had a lot of good moments in this game. That's not going to make the...
That wasn't one of them. He's done so well on that right-hand side. Absolutely brilliant. But that's his strength. His pace and getting crosses in and shots. Not so much from long distance, though.
Pressure from Wheeler. Jackman drives it out toward Mahoney. Begins again for the Switchbacks. Felt they deserved something from that San Antonio game. Loudoun did get something from their San Antonio game a couple weeks ago, their home opener against the reigning league champion.
Switchbacks are so unlucky, though. A penalty in the dying moments. Zach Zandy had it saved by Farr. Such a good goalkeeper, Jordan Farr. that was a killer for them. That should have been the point. And of course, as we mentioned, Zach Zandy then goes and tears his Achilles. So it really was a bad week all in all.
You do get the feeling that the Switchbacks are going to be open to the loan market once it really begins to percolate. A few weeks into the MLS season now. And you aren't going to bring in a guy that necessarily will change everything for your team. Someone who could certainly be impactful. I thought we were getting a new referee into the game. No, it's the AR teeing up the fourth, and Romario Williams is going to be asked to go to the closest. Romario Williams is, he was close to picking up the world's stupidest yellow card.
Yep, he just realized in time and he's got to get off at the shortest distance, and the referee warned him twice. There was a part of him that was going to go, I don't care, I'm just going off wherever I want to go off, but he got some advice from his teammates. And
he already has 2 this year. That is a terrible way to put yourself on accumulation warning a couple weeks into the year. How about this guy? Jairo Enriquez comes into the game. He was genuinely excellent against the United States. He may have been the best player on the field for El Salvador.
Substitution in the 68th minute. Exiting the match, number 9.
he scored a goal against El Paso in the 2nd minute
Number 17.
on the opening day of the season. So he can score goals, he can perform, as you said.
Wheeler dancing. Sub brought to you by Segra. Enriquez almost scored in that game as well. Stephen Hogan said he got a call from someone shortly after that game concluded to the effect of, where's Enriquez in terms of his citizenship? And because it's always that international spot. You can get some really talented players here that might not get the chance. Another look at the goal back in the 5th.
Yeah,
Williams off.
Yeah, beautiful pass from Deshane Beckford. Puts it on a plate there for Mario Williams. He's in the right place at the right time, so give him credit as well. That's why he gets a hug from everybody. His goal, the crucial one, but the pass coming in from Deshane Beckford, top class.
Set piece goals, a problem for Loudoun defensively last year. It's not going to be here with a little stiff arm shove. Jackaman up to the task.
The clock's ticking now for Loudoun. I think the Switchbacks are very happy just to see this out at 1-0. They'll keep playing the way they are, looking for Beckford on the counter-attack with his pace and fresh legs of Jairo Enriquez and even Aaron Wheeler. It's up to the home side to try and make things happen. Not being allowed to. Very good high press coming in from the Switchbacks.
Fans, for your chance to receive autographs from players tonight and to participate in our post-match kids kick, head over to the corner of the stadium, next to section 107 and 108 after the match.
Lacroix. Throw for Zane. The seed back to Mahoney. Switchback start up again. Rocha did well to take that off Wheeler. Well, and sometimes that doesn't play out, but it did for Learman on this occasion.
It's risky, and that's what they're doing here. Switchbacks, they're trying to force the error, hoping there's going to be a bad pass or something that's going to slip them up.
If you're Learman, you're definitely hoping that Aaron Wheeler has the turning radius of the Titanic, right?
As I mentioned, Learman was culpable for 2 of the, or certainly 1 of the goals against Tulsa, maybe even the 2nd. So he needed a good match and does need more good matches to really prove his value to the manager.
Santos serves Rocha. There's Garay in the national team setup for El Salvador, left out for this last Nations League window. Certainly one for the future for La Selecta. All the while, a player who's captain the El Salvador team is now his rival. 11 in white, 17 in black and blue.
Switchbacks more than happy to let them have the ball in their half. All the time they're there, fiddling around, the clock is ticking. Switchbacks aren't losing any sleep. It's up to Loudoun to try and get forward. Here we go.
Samake, goodness, he kept it in. And Samake wins the throw. That's quite the high wire act he just pulled off. Zane, Samake, offside.
That's the basics. It's 101. When you get the ball and you give it back, you've got to just check down the line, make sure you're not offside. Stephen Hogan probably just debating more subs and what he might do just to close this match out.
There's Garay. Happy birthday, Jeremy.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what DC United tweeted. I've never known their Twitter to be, liars.
He's
20.
20 today.
And I'm not fooling.
Happy birthday. Won't be that happy if they don't get a win. Or even a draw. I think the draw at this stage Ryan Martin would take. As I mentioned, they've got some tough matches coming up, so it doesn't get any easier for them. They've got to be so careful. I mean, Birmingham Legion, they're top of the entire East. It's coming up. Oakland Roots maybe at home. They've got something, but Phoenix away. On the road up to the West Coast. Those are all difficult games ahead for Loudoun.
Up the line from Samake. And there for Zane. And Loudoun rebuffed again. There's Jackman. Allowed just 5 goals as the League Two Golden Glove winner at Westchester, time in the DC Academy. Learman, Santos. Armenakis, further Rocha, El Medkar. We've been a bit silent of late. That's a goal kick for Colorado Springs.
My question there to Rocha is, do you need to square it off to Armenakis or anybody else happens to be up there, El Medkar? Can you not just turn and shoot? Let's just have a look at it again. Rocha, I'm sure he gets the ball right in the center. The beautiful ball in from Armenakis. He's there, he's on the edge of the box. He's pushed it wide. If you have a look at El Medkar, his angle's much worse. Do you not try and get the shot in? Again, I'm picking on these points because the one thing that we're saying about Loudoun is they need to be more clinical than they were last season. And here they are with a better XG. In other words, they should be at least level on goals. But they haven't taken their chance, whereas Switchbacks have taken one of, say, 2 or 3 good chances they've had. They've taken one of them. So that's what's missing. It was missing last match, the vulnerability of Loudoun. And again, we're seeing it here. They're just not as yet been clinical enough in that final third.
Samake for Zane. Samake lifts it across El Medkar. Oh, what a save, Herrera! Christian Herrera yanks that out of the upper corner and shoves it out.
Brilliant save, absolutely stunning. El Medkar doing so well to put power behind this. Gets up, but he pulls it out of the top corner. He's at full stretch. Just gets fingertips, strong fingertips, and it tips it over the bar. And all the white shirts go down to the ground because they thought that was going in.
And turned over here on the 2-man game with Samake now trailing backward. Beckford 5 shots today. That's the most he's had in a game since October of 2021. He finally gave it up to Echeverria. Does that get a standing ovation from a goalkeeper with good experience, that Herrera effort?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's just got his fingertips. You've got to have very strong fingers to actually guide the ball over the crossbar. fantastic save, but if you add that to the other work he's done this evening, some of the saves in the first half, coming out at feet, had a very good reflex save with his left hand just before half-time. For me, he's the star of the show for the Switchbacks, and not for the first time, I might add. He also had a couple of really big saves against El Paso when they won 2-1 away. They were holding on at 1-1, and they got a late winner because of him.
Had 5 saves in that game.
There you go. And he made those saves, and at the very death, when they looked like they were just going to have the 1 point, then they scored a Duke Lacroix winner in the 92nd minute, minutes after he had already just made a great save from Lucho Solignac. So he's the star of the show this season so far for the Switchbacks, is Christian Herrera, the 25-year-old keeper.
As we found out, now 28 goals in 2+ years for Solignac at El Paso, including the 2 he had last night. Take the wind out of Tulsa. Santos for Loudoun. Santos, that hung in the air, chance to bring that down, and Mahoney snuffs out any Loudoun United chance there. Still 12 minutes and stoppage time to go. Colorado Springs would love an insurance goal sooner than later. Beckford. It's easy for Jackaman.
Beckford does so well, his speed, his control of the ball, and then he tries this long, lazy pass with a lot of height in it. It wasn't going anywhere. It allows Loudoun to come back on the front foot. But that's tough for Loudoun. I was talking about them being clinical. Well, when you put a header like that on target, keeper makes that sort of save. That's a good effort on goal from El Medcar.
It's a tip your hat moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rocha. Armenakis. Santos. Santos curling over toward El Medcar. Header finds Armenakis, resets for Loudoun. Laid back to Santos. Williamson. There are 5 black shirts that converged on him.
Everybody back for the Switchbacks. Behind the ball, Oren Wheeler just willing his body to move across to the big man. But they're just defending their final third. That's all they've realized at this stage, that it's 10+ minutes of good defending, and they walk away with all 3 points.
Oh goodness. It appears there's a suggestion. Is that lightning?
Yep, I think that's what he's hearing. Pointed to the heavens, so can only assume it's a lightning delay.
Well, no good deed goes unpunished. And so 4 o'clock start today will not, in fact, get people home early. So it was picturesque blue with these big white puffy clouds overhead when we started.
Yeah.
The wind, however, has been whipping for hours, and it looks like we're getting a taste of that mid-Atlantic summer 6 o'clock weather in the opening day of April. So everybody's going to have to head out to the car. You and I, however, are going to be left on this cherry picker. Lightning delay here in the 80th minute with Colorado Springs leading 1-0. If the game had to be abandoned, we're a long way away from that. This would be an official game now that we've gotten into the final quarter hour, but I imagine everyone's committed to seeing this out. Benefit one side or the other?
Not really. I got the sense that Switchbacks had dropped very deep and were just going to defend last 10 minutes, and I'm sure that Stephen Hogan would say to them, come out refreshed, had a bit of a rest, 10 minutes, work hard, keep the ball down their half of the pitch, we can walk away with 3 points. If anything, I think it probably favors the visiting team, but it's not great for either side. You've got to keep yourself warm, keep yourself focused and going back out there. But certainly for the Switchbacks, it gives them a little chance to gather their thoughts and gather some energy for the last 10 minutes.
All right, so in the area there is a high wind warning, and in addition, thunderstorms and gusty winds throughout the night. There's also a waning gibbous tonight. If you're wondering where I'm reading this from, it's not going to take much time to figure out now. Nevertheless, now would probably be a great time as thunderstorms are going to roll through here for approximately an hour. Hopefully they'll get out sooner than that. We're going to allow our camera people to step away and find cover. For the Salvadoran fans, they're going to have to wait to see Jairo Enriquez and Jeremy Garay again. It's a 1-0 Colorado Springs in the 80th minute as we've hit a lightning delay here in Leesburg, Virginia. you back to Leesburg, Virginia, and we are in fact going to finish this game. 80 minutes in the books, Colorado Springs, a 1-0 lead. Welcome back to overcast and lightning-free finally, Sky. Let's go back to the 5th minute. Remember when the sun was out, Gary? Romario Williams.
That was a great start to the match for Colorado Springs there. Romario Williams tucking it in, but what a ball from Deshane Beckford. Absolutely brilliant. He's been a thorn in Loudoun's side this entire match with his wonderful pace down the right-hand side. So, yeah, that's how it stands. 1 goal to the Switchbacks. They're going to defend it now for the next 10 minutes.
There will be some changes here. Juan Ramirez has come on for Jeremy Gray for Loudoun United. And then Dennis Erdman came on a moment ago for Colorado Springs. So both sides making adjustments. Gary, you've been cooped up in a locker room for over an hour. I'm, of course, not talking about you literally. I'm talking about the players, your past experience. What's it like now? That ball gets dropped and all of a sudden you're thrust back into a competitive game with 10 minutes to go.
Well, you've got a lot going through your mind because you've had time to talk to each other. The coach has given you advice. You've had a breather. If you're Colorado Springs, I would expect them to be able to run around, close the ball down a lot, make it very, very difficult for Loudoun. Of course, if you're Loudoun, then the coach has been telling you how to break down Colorado Springs, what you have to do, which I think is pretty much attack at this stage with 10 minutes left. You haven't got the time to be subtle about it, and both coaches have made a change, so they've influenced the game ever so slightly with those changes. So yeah, it's obviously who plays this next 10 minutes the right way. But if I can give you any sort of suggestions, is Loudoun conceded in the 95th minute versus Tulsa, so they have conceded late goals. And Switchbacks, on the other hand, have scored. They scored a late winner in the 92nd against El Paso, a late equalizer against Hartford in the 88th, and they've got a late penalty, which they didn't convert, but they got the pen in the 97th versus San Antonio. So if those stats are anything to go by, you fancy the Switchbacks are able to handle this situation better.
Time will tell. Kudos to the fan that stuck around on that far bleacher. Say, what is it? A theater of what? That's Man United plays?
Theater of Dreams?
Yes. What's this? A theater of dream.
One dream.
Singular
One
dream. Indeed. Hour and a half long wait. A number of people, especially with the weather continuing to worsen here for a while, have departed after a good crowd, including today's egg hunt, or as someone has since referred to it to me, an egg gather. The eggs were readily noticeable.
Oh,
nevertheless,
right.
Santos rolls central. This is Ramirez into Samake. Zane in the width. Loudoun trying to find an equalizer into Williamson. Pushed off by Skundrich. Did the splits to get it back to Zane. Lined up Echevarria. Quite the find there, and it's out of the reach from Armenakis to Zane. Armenakis has been a lot of fun in this game. If we see his line-breaking passing moving forward, I think Loudoun fans have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Very, very good player. Just 24 years of age, the Australian, so got many years ahead of him. I think he, along with El Medcar, are both been very creative for Loudoun. They're just missing that final piece, and that is probably what Zach Ryan is. He's the final piece when you consider 2 games played, 3 goals, and an assist. And he's a vital player missing today. When he gets back in the team, it could be a very, very different story for Loudoun.
By the way, if you're tuning in late, 2 pieces of injury news of note for Colorado Springs. Touch on in a moment. Samake cuts through the end line looking for Williamson. Barreled off of Erdman and out for a corner. Notably, Zach Zandy out with a torn Achilles, suffered in training this week. Did not make the trip. Malik Foster did make the trip, but left on a stretcher in the first half of the 30th minute. We do not have an update on his condition. This is going to fly by and out. All the flags that were lined up on the end of the bleachers here that proved to be our idea of how bad the wind is are not there anymore.
Yeah, just looking at the clothing, there's a little bit of wind, but not as bad as it was earlier. was a real problem. Mind you, look at the back of the net. That is swaying a bit in the wind. But I would expect Christian Herrera to be able to boot this ball way over the halfway line now with whatever wind there is behind him.
Stevie, drop it out. Stevie, get out of there.
Snap header forward, away from Enriquez. Jackman. Armenakis. Oh, that's in. Santos banged off a Segrist. He would disagree.
It's his job to disagree. It's tense for Stephen Hogan. I mean, he's very close to getting a very valuable 3 points. Away from home, never easy. And he's 5 minutes away from it, so he's going to fight and battle. And now you can see the flags are blowing. So I take back what I said about the wind having died down. It's changed direction almost.
Yeah.
It's now going back against Colorado Springs.
A wretched irony after competing with the wind that entire first half. Plowing forward.
This is going according to plan for the Switchbacks. They managed to work 5 minutes off the clock. And Ryan Martin there is just wondering whether his guys can just find any way to break down what's been a resolute defense with an excellent goalkeeper behind them in Christian Herrera.
Wheeler off of Samake.
Yeah, no rush to take that. Use up every second you can on a free kick, or set piece rather, corner.
You and I got our first look at the field today, and the balls were rolling because of the wind pregame too. So it's sort of been that way throughout the day, but it does feel like it's picked up a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's swirling around, and you can see that it does bother the players. Not very easy conditions, hard to control the ball, hard to read it in the air if you're a keeper or defender.
Free kick, Colorado Springs, worth its weight in gold at this stage.
Clever. Aaron Wheeler, with all his experience, gets between player and ball, waits for the nudge. Down he goes, eats another 30 seconds off the clock. And now really it is just about being professional for the Switchbacks. They've taken the sting out of the restart. They've got a few minutes now just to keep possession, keep the ball down this end of the pitch.
This mountain of a man angling toward the corner flag again. Appeal for a handball. The whistle is late, but there it is. They've wasted a full minute in this corner now.
Well, I don't think it's wasted. It's been very cleverly ground down, and I'm sure Stephen Hogan will be delighted with that.
They've given it away rather cheaply in this instance, and Jackman will roll it forward. It does look like the wind is now going from the near side of the field to the far side of the field, if anything. To your earlier point about it changing direction, but it's sort of circulating around a little bit too.
I just don't feel that Loudoun at this stage can be too bothered about niceties of passing at the back. They've got to get this ball forward and quickly. They've got a couple of minutes left. So just get it wide and boot it into the box.
Learman on the dribble by Enriquez. Armenakis central. Floated forward Ramirez. Elmedkar still chasing Zane circle. It's a matter of minutes remaining here. Colorado Springs has led from the 5th minute. It's about a 3-hour lead that they've held. Ball driven across, that's easy for Herrera, who's made a half-dozen saves today.
And he was concentrating on that ball when it came in because it was moving in the wind. I think he's thinking to himself, don't let this ball slip through your hands, not now with a minute to go. And he did the professional thing, eye on the ball, hands right behind it, and then brought it to safety.
Upfield from King. Williams Sent it back to Skundrich, who launches. Echeverria kept it in. Played for Ryan Martin at Wake Forest. Pumps the brakes, Skundrich. Enriquez. He had an eye for it. Williams. Stridently forward, Segrist was looking for the dagger.
On his good left foot, you expect him to hit target. As I'd set up, I'm thinking he is going to rifle that in the corner, but just didn't quite catch it. But good play, lovely play all round. Speedy Williams, just the awareness. And then when he hits it, I think he just is worried there's going to be a tackle and pulls out of getting his foot right through it. Comes across the ball slightly.
There were 8 minutes of first half stoppage time, due in part to a number of injuries suffered in the opening stanza. Should be substantially less this time around. Armenakis bounced out in front of Zane.
Armenakis not happy with Zane. He feels the ball was on target enough for him to have brought the ball in. It was coming at some pace though. He had an option to his right-hand side as well, Armenakis, which he didn't take. He tried the more difficult one. It didn't come off.
Stoppage time is brought to you by Novec, delivering power you can count on. 2 added minutes away from Williamson. Enriquez was trying to do it all by his lonesome. He got stymied. 100 ticks to go. Santos, too far.
Frustration for Tommy Williamson up front and also for El Medcar. They're in good positions, but the service in not great. I think there's almost job done there for Stephen Hogan. And that'll see his team shoot their way up in the West. In fact, it would take them joint top. I'm not mistaken, they'd have 7 points, and currently top is Sacramento Republic on 7 points. They would have played the extra game, of course, but as we were talking about earlier, the win, the difference it makes. You've gone from being sort of in the top, but teams can pass you by. If you're Colorado Springs Switchbacks, you're now top of the table. Joint top of the table.
Where they spent much of the first half of last year.
And for Loudoun, they would be in 7th place, but a bunch of teams with games in hand around them that could leapfrog over them. So not the end of the world, but not where they want to be.
Speedy Williams chipping wide. Well, it came from nothing, that combination between Speedy and Enriquez. But it does take a valuable 15 seconds off. It's got to be now for Loudoun, or Colorado Springs will be joint leading in the Western Conference. Long diagonal into the wind. Header sends El Medcar. There is the final whistle. It took nearly 3.5 hours, but it's a tremendous business trip for Colorado Springs to Loudoun County. The opening goal in the 5th minute, and 3 hours later, the Romario Williams marker stands the winner. The Switchbacks knock off Loudoun 1-0. Well, there were plenty of opportunities for Loudoun and Colorado Springs to add to the tally tonight. Save of the game is brought to you by Segra, and it's the best chance for Loudoun here tonight.
Yeah, El Medcar gets there with just a great header, but out of the top corner, Christian Herrera stretches, gets fingertips, and is able to guide it over the top of the crossbar. It's a fantastic header, brilliant save. It's the only really outstanding chance that Loudoun United had, and that man there denied them the possibility. 6'4" inches of him, and he put it to good use.
Yeah, it was that extra 1 or 2 inches on those digits that ultimately pushed it away from the bar. Mission accomplished for the Switchbacks. They go on the road, and lightning does not deter them. 1-0 the final. We'll wrap it up when we return to the post-game show presented by Segra. Today's postgame show is presented by Segra. A look inside the Loudoun United huddle from a distance. It is a disappointing conclusion. They fall behind early and never find that moment of brilliance to unlock Colorado Springs. It finishes 1-0. Mike and Gary, here we go. Full-time highlights, get you caught up on what you may have missed if you just joined us for the final 10 minutes. Some chances for the Switchbacks in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, Seagrass getting things going down the right-hand side. Lovely interplay here. Ball comes through, but brave goalkeeping from Dane Jackerman just stops that one from being a problem. But this is the moment that gets it all going. Beautiful ball on the right-hand side. Deshane Beckford, so quick. He's got time to lift his head, pick his spot, find Romario Williams. That extra pace allows him that time at the end just to settle on the ball and pick out the right pass. Brilliant.
For the next 30 minutes or so, you'd say Loudoun was the better team, created the better chances.
Yeah, nice shot coming in there from Santos. It moved a little bit in the air, gave the goalkeeper Christian Herrera some problems. In fact, he was a very busy goalkeeper on and off. Williamson with a little back heel here, just maybe overcooks the back heel. And then El Medkar again testing the goalkeeper.
Jackman's second start of the year, coming up with a couple saves, but Herrera makes more than half a dozen for Colorado Springs. The majority coming the tail end of this first half, including this effort ultimately from Armanakis.
Good left hand from the goalkeeper for the first one. Second one just knocks it up in the air. Christian Herrera. Both goalkeepers busy, but certainly the Colorado Springs the busier of the two. And then this is this nice little pass. Speedy Williams, he lays it up for your man coming, Patrick Seagrass, who normally with his lovely left foot would have hit target, but at that point of the game, it was really about just seeing it over the line.
All right, here's a look at the final match stats. Chance for your final thoughts on this one, Gary?
Well, shots on target would suggest Loudoun United had by far the better of the game, but it was controlled by Switchbacks. They had the lead. They were never really in trouble. Herrera with one stunning save, second half in the top corner, our save of the match from El Medkar. I think when they get Zach Ryan back, Loudoun, if they get a regular goal scorer up front, then they could be a dangerous team. But without Zach Ryan, they struggled to be effective in the final third.
All right, the Switchbacks win this one 1-0. Loudoun returns home for the Open Cup. They'll take on NCFC. The Switchbacks head home to take on Northern Colorado next. We once upon a time had a sunny disposition. There was an egg hunt, the whole thing. Look at that carrot. And look at that goal. Romario Williams, 5 minutes into the game. Stevie Hogan and his side get their second win of the season. Move joint to the top of the Western Conference alongside Sacramento. Play Louisville tonight at 10 on ESPN+. For Gary Bailey, Mike Watts, final score brought to you by Segra. It's Colorado Springs 1, Loudoun 0.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.